أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Dear viewers everywhere, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We're still talking about this important issue in the Quran, is that which is the reflection, tadabbur, tafakkur, pondering, thinking deeply, not just passing by it and reading the lines, rather reading between the lines. Today we have a very short chapter. I'm not going to cover it all, but it is the chapter of Al-Ikhlas, chapter number 112, particularly ayah number 2. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. As you can see that it consists of 4 chapters, 4 ayahs, 4 verses. I will focus on the second one. However, I will read the translation for you just to grasp the meaning of it. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He is Allah, the One, the Ahad. Allah is As-Samad, self-sufficient as it is translated here, whom all creatures need, and He neither needs any one of them. The third one means He begets not, and He was not begotten. And the last one, and there is none co-equal or comparable unto Him. Let me focus on the second verse here, which is Allahu Samad. Let's assume that this is the only verse that in the Quran, just an assumption, just to help us understand. When we reflect upon this verse, or even the verse that came up before it, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allahu Samad, this is the word as-Samad. You may find that many translations for it, and none of the translations is correct, completely correct. It's partially correct, but it does not represent the whole meaning of it. And the reason for this is not that the translators are weak. No, it is the nature of the languages that they translate into it. And again, this is something common among the linguists, that it's very difficult to translate a concept into one word. You can translate one word into another word, 2 words into 2 words, or 2 words into 3 words, but it's almost impossible to translate a concept into a word unless this concept exists into the target language that you are translating into. I hope I am clear in this, but I'm going to give you a simple explanation. If you look at the word as-Samad, Allah Samad, Allah is Samad. Now the translation is, Samad is a concept that consists of 2 parts. Let me give you an example of this glass. Say this is one and this is another one, right? So here, which means, so the concept of Samad means that all the creatures in the universe rely upon Him and need Him. This is the first chunk. Which means the sun needs Almighty Allah to exist. The planets depend upon Allah to exist. Without Him, they cannot exist. He is their creator. All humans need Almighty Allah and depend upon Him. The oxygen itself requires and needs and depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the one who provides oxygen. He's the one who creates oxygen. So everything in this universe relies upon Almighty Allah and needs Him. This is the first chunk of it. And the second chunk of it is that He needs no one of His creatures. So this is the area of humanity and this is the area of divinity. So Almighty Allah needs no one here, and here everyone here needs Him and depend upon Him. This whole concept that consists of two sub-concepts. So this whole concept that has two sub-concepts in it means as-Samad. Now, after this simple explanation to you of the concept of as-Samad, let's ask ourselves, when we reflect upon the Quran, when we come to this question, does this concept apply to anyone else? Does it apply to Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No, it does not. Does it apply to Jesus, peace be upon him? No, it does not. Does it apply to Buddha? No, it does not. Does it apply to any idol or any creature? Does he have this quality? The answer is very obvious to all of us, that it does not apply. It applies only to Almighty Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Now, with this concept only in Islam, it shows that Islam is the right religion. Because of just this concept. It's only one concept among the many concepts that we have in Islam. And this is one of the names and the attributes of Allah. One of the attributes of Allah is that He is as-Samad. Now, if we ask ourselves, it's not applicable to anyone else. It only applies to Almighty Allah. So therefore, you know that He is, when you link it with the previous verse, that He is Ahad. Yes, He is unique. Because the one who has this attribute and this quality should be the most unique one in this universe. And this is one attribute of Almighty Allah. He is the most unique one. He is unique in every attribute that He has. And this is an example of it, that He is Samad. Everyone in this creation, every creature in the universe needs Almighty Allah to exist and is created by Almighty Allah. And He needs no one of them. What a beautiful concept when we understand it, and when you read it day after day, you know that you are on the right religion. You know that you are on the right path. And there is no wonder that the Prophet ﷺ said about this chapter that's called Al-Ikhlas, chapter that's number 112, that this, reading it, equals 1/3 of the Quran. It's so essential, so significant, that if you read it 3 times, it's as if you covered the whole Quran. And the reason is, it talks about the attributes of Almighty Allah, and it is one of the parameters, and I will talk about this in another episode. This is one parameter of the 4 parameters that through which you can decide whether the idol or the God that you worship is a true God or a false God. This one attribute of Almighty Allah, as-Samad, is a parameter that any human being can use it to see, to test, to put his belief into test, whether his God is a true God or false God. If his God is characterized by this attribute, as-Samad, so it is a true God. If it doesn't apply to that God or this God, so that means this God or that God is not the true one, and there is a true one whose name is Allah. This is the beauty of reflecting upon these verses, and this is an example of that. And that's why when we say that He's a Samad, you would immediately come to the conclusion that, so in this way, there is no one like Him. And this is exactly what came in the Quran. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is no one who looks like Him. There is no one comparable to Him. There is no one equal to Him. When you know this quality only, you would say, then this is not applicable to anyone else. So He is not comparable to anyone else. And you come to this simple conclusion because of what? Because you reflected upon the meaning of the words. Because you didn't just pass by them very quickly. You understood them. And then you tried to raise questions. Okay, this is not applicable to anyone else. So He's the true God. And this is the beauty of reflection. The reflection opens up your heart and helps you deeply rooting this religion into your heart that will never ever will be shakeable from your heart, because this comes as a result of reflection. This is the result of the meaning of the verse that says, don't they reflect upon the Quran? Don't they reflect upon the words of the Quran? Don't they understand them deeply? Or do they have locks upon their hearts? Which is summed up in our beautiful language, Arabic language, as أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. And if we know that if we don't do these, we will be locked, our hearts will be locked, and they no longer understand deeply. And if you want to unlock them, the only way is to go back to the Quran and to reflect and to understand and to digest what you understand. And in this way, your heart will be opened up. This is a reminder to you in the lesson that's needed here. When you recite the Quran on a daily basis, because we need to have contact with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to know that this is the way that He communicates with us. He sends us the Quran and we read the Quran. In this way the communication takes place and we get the benefit. When this happens, definitely our iman and our belief and our creed will increase on regular basis. And in this way, inshallah, we will keep our iman strong, and we would help others to understand the truth and to see the difference. We would develop an opening eye, and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sending us the Quran and for guiding us to reflect upon it. And I ask Allah to make us of those who reflect upon every ayah, upon every verse in the Quran. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your presenter, Mamdouh Mohamed.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن